Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
The fourth dimension will collapse upon itself, you stupid bitch.
Shut up, I'm a man and I know what's good for me.
Bountiful penis. Amen.
Boy, my ass is sore.
You can get pink eye from farting in a pillow?
Yeah, but you gotta be bare-assed.
I'm gonna invent a toothbrush for your butthole.
It does the trick.
Paddington Bear.
He's a homewrecker?
Yeah, he wrecks homes.
You are a murderer of love.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome back to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. With me today are Emily.
Hello.
Wesley.
Hi.
And joining us is someone who's just as musically talented as Wesley exhibited himself to be, if not more so.
Definitely more so.
Mr. Garrett.
Definitely
How are you doing,
more so.
Garrett?
Thanks a lot. I'm doing good.
Oh,
Awesome. We're excited to have you. Already kicking it off with an accent. I love it. So before we get started, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass today?
I have some sort of Irish ginger something or other. I just put ginger beer and Irish whiskey together because we have an Irish ginger in our movie.
Mhm.
That sounds delicious, I
It
might
is.
say.
For 11 o'clock in the morning, it's great.
Oh, yeah. Well, then I guess I can go. So I had a hard time with this because with the movie, I was trying to think of an alcohol that I feel like I'm meant to be with, but that we don't necessarily need to be friends, like close proximity friends and in a relationship. Like it just doesn't work somehow. So I almost brought some Hendrick's gin. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a bottle of Irish whiskey that I have had before that is semi-unattainable to me because it's a little spendy. So I'm drinking Redbreast single pot still Irish whiskey aged 12.
Oh,
12 years aged Redbreast single pot still Irish whiskey.
very
Ooh.
nice. I know you're just drinking this
So
straight.
fancy.
Yeah, that's the only way to drink whiskey for me.
No, absolutely.
I enjoy it neat.
And I'm in the same boat with you. This story was so simple. I needed to keep it simple. I've just got straight Jameson. So I got Irish whiskey as well. Garrett, I'm with you.
Cheers,
Nice.
bud.
I thought about that, and then I was like, too early for straight whiskey for me.
Well, and it kind of felt too simple, you know? Too simple, but it's not.
Wesley, what about you?
I'm drinking some mug root beer.
Oh, yeah. Now tie it in.
My favorite of the Irish root beers.
It's the broken vacuum cleaner of sodas.
Absolutely. Well, Garrett, we're really excited to have you on today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Garrett. I'm just your standard dude for the most part. You know, I work a job Monday through Friday. I have a great wife and two beautiful children. I love me some music. I love to play music. I love to listen to music. And I'm really not that much of a cinephile, but I do dive hard into movies that I love. So this actually falls into the category for the movie that we are reviewing today, as well as, like the classic cliche Shawshank Redemption. I mean, that movie is tops in my book. So I like slow moving movies that have a lot of sustenance to them, where you have to pay attention and you really get to be a part of it. You get sucked into it. But, I also like Inception and I also like, like crazy action, but I like thinkers and I like to be pulled into stories more.
Okay.
Like,
Very
Awesome.
cool.
like thinkers and stinkers.
Yeah. I love thinkers and stinkers.
You mentioned being a music guy. What does that look like in terms of like your life?
Well, I've tattooed myself with music stuff. I also been playing in bands for as long as I can remember. I was also in a band with somebody named Ben at one point.
Oh, I wonder who that
Which
is.
are Ben?
You're Ben. Yep. I've never seen the better scissor kicks on stage.
That's right.
That's
Yeah, it
true.
was
It's
incredible.
true.
I still want to see these.
Oh, we need to have a reunion show because
We really do. Yeah.
we won't even play music. We'll just sit at our instruments and watch Ben scissor kick. It's going to be amazing. But right now I've been playing with another gentleman. We're in a band called Crash Cuddle, and it's just a 2-piece instrumental, and it's exactly what I've ever wanted as far as being in a band, except for with Ben.
Less scissor kicks in this band.
Yeah.
Charlie's got some moves though. They're not scissor kicks, but
Well, he tightens his shoes up, and they're like flat soled shoes. So I say he skittles about.
that's a perfect word for it. Yeah.
He skittles about, and then I take my shoes off, and I play drums, and I take off my glasses, and I can't see anything. It's great.
Yeah. And as Garrett's roommate for 6 years total.
I mean, at least. Yeah.
And a couple of those years after Crash Cuddle was formed, I got to have my bedroom directly above the basement where they practiced every week. So I know the music very, very well. And I'm
Is that
still
a good thing?
I'm still a fan. That's how good it is.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's basically, he plays out of 5 different amps, basically. So, I mean, it is
Jeez.
a wall of sound. The house is the bass because the walls are shaking so much.
So with our podcast being related to 2007, Garrett, what were you up to in 2007?
Well, in 2007, I was still in high school. I was a senior. So what I would do is basically what I do now, where I work during the week. And then on the weekends, I go down to Mankato and I hang out with my friends down at Minnesota State University.
Were you
at the
doing
university.
inappropriate things, Garrett?
Yeah, I was. I mean, define inappropriate. I mean, I was getting sandwiches that were not on the menu. So like, I was definitely doing some bad stuff.
That sounds so nefarious, but I know you just mean that you had friends that worked at Herbert and Gerbert's.
Yeah, so I would just make the craziest sandwiches. So I was definitely pretty BA in my book.
My goodness. So you all go way back.
We go pretty far back. Yep.
Well, awesome, Garrett. We're really excited to have you on and excited to talk about this movie that you love, Once. And if you've never listened to this podcast before, during the first half, we will be discussing and reviewing Once. And the second half will feature our Battle of Twits, a creative competition this week featuring myself versus Emily. And our current leaderboard is Wes with 6, myself with 5, Emily and the guests with 3, and Matt with 2.
And if you haven't listened to our show before, hey, thank you for listening to us. We're really excited to have new listeners, especially for our wonderful friend Garrett to be on. Come share our awesome podcast with your friends.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. And to get into this movie Once, it is directed by John Carney and features Glenn Hansard and Marketa Erglova.
I don't know you, but I want you all the more for that. Words fall through me and always fool me, and I can't react.
A broken-hearted guy meets a girl while playing guitar on the streets of Ireland. She admires his music and the two become fast friends, and she even gets her vacuum fixed. Bonus. The two sing real good together and flirt a ton, but when the guy makes a pass at her, she rejects him. So, right off the bat, Wesley, how many times have you seen this movie?
Once.
Yeah!
Oh, so
Hey!
funny.
Did she actually get her vacuum fixed?
Yeah.
It was just a belt issue, don't you remember?
No. This movie was kind of nothing for me.
I'm actually surprised, Wesley, this movie was nothing for you. It doesn't have a lot of plot, but there's a lot of substance and emotion and feelings, which I know is maybe not your favorite thing in the world, but it still was
Thanks.
honest and real. It was very honest and real right from the beginning. And I thought that would be intriguing for you.
No, it was definitely a unique film. I did not dislike it. I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because I just watched it yesterday. But I think that a lot of the movie just kind of felt like an extended music video, and the parts that weren't songs or singing or anything related to the music would just kind of felt like the backstory that didn't need to be told in a music video. So I don't know. Again, I really didn't dislike it because it was very unique. I did enjoy the way that they captured the sound and how they would like record outside of a restaurant, but the audio was strictly inside. I found that very interesting, but it just didn't do a ton for me, which I know I'm at least one person on this podcast has the extreme opposite opinion of me.
Well, let's hear that extreme opposite opinion of you.
Well, I would just like to say that this movie, I totally understand where you're coming from. The first time I saw it, I knew I liked the music, and I knew, I'm a romantic at heart, so I enjoyed the back and forth love story, and I really appreciated how it ended. But as you watch it again and you listen to the lyrics, it's not a music video with little snippets in between. The whole thing is a story. I mean, can we dive in just real quick? Or we want to get samples on what everybody feels about the movie?
Go, Garrett.
We open up to Glenn Hansard busking, and he is singing a song called When the Healing Has Begun. And what we don't know now, but we know later, is that he has his girlfriend who has cheated on him and has moved to London. So he, through music, is trying to heal himself. And it is laying out the plot before you even know that the plot is being laid out before you. So it's a great it's a great attention getter to set the tone via his music, which is the most personal thing to him right off the get-go with the beginning of the story. So once you dive in and listen to the music itself, I mean, I have notes here where it really is something that propels the plot forward, as well as gives you insight into how he's feeling in the moment, or how Marquetta, the girl in this case, is feeling in the moment. It's really beautifully done. And the reason why that happened is because when they filmed it, they didn't have all the songs written, and they would write the songs like a day or two before, and they knew what the plot was, and they would write the songs to the plot. They didn't write the plot around the songs. So it's a really incredible piece of art in that regard.
And I was reading that John Carney, the director, this is kind of a story of his own personal life of being a musician and going through his own breakup. And with this being such a low budget film and then just having so much success later, I think it was just really meaningful to be a part of such an interesting perspective and relationship.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that they chose to write the songs during filming. Like, that is just so against how movie making happens. Like, you usually come in with like this ready product to present, and you know how you're building everything. That almost sounds like how some bands record. It's more of the recording process than the movie making process, where it's a lot of impromptu. What flow are we going with? Where are we going with these things? It's jazz, baby.
Well, and honestly, like, they play off that in the movie as well. They get a hodgepodge of musicians to go into the studio and kind of write on the spot. Now, I will say not all the songs were written during the course of the movie, but the cool thing is some of the songs were done by Glenn's band, The Frames, who Mr. Carney was the bassist in. So that's where it ties in, and they used a couple of those songs as well. So, I mean, everything in this movie, I love. How it's shot, how they wrote it, how it was acted. I mean, the performances were raw, and I think that played into the film style and the audio. I mean, everything was so intimate. And you look at the movie, you will not see a stable shot. Every shot is shaky, so it feels like a documentary it feels like The Office before The Office.
I actually texted Ben. I said, this is Cloverfield without an alien.
Totally.
Yeah, the only stable shot in the entire movie is the crane shot at the end.
Exactly.
And that was the most expensive shot. I think for me, when I was watching this again, I don't remember how many times I've seen it, Wesley, but it's been more than once. I think for me, that shot when Glenn Hansard, the guy, is singing that first song in the beginning, where he's all alone on the street of Dublin and he's just pouring his heart out, and he is almost scream singing in a beautiful way. I don't know how else to describe it, but it is so emotional. And as the camera is zooming in, he finishes and it pulls back and the girl is standing there. And I just loved that so much. That hooked me into this movie right from the start.
Well, you're talking about the second song, which is "Say It to Me Now," and it's scratching at the surface.
Whatever it is.
No,
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah, but I agree. I was going to talk about that too, because it's scratching at the surface now, and he's screaming, and there's nobody there, and it's not for anybody. It's for him. It's it's not for anybody else, and he's screaming. So say it to me now. And like you said, I mean, all of a sudden it pans out, and she's the only one there, and she's not coming at him with any of her agenda other than the Hoover. At that moment, she's just selling magazines, and she's telling him, hey, you need to do something about this. Like, do you have any, why don't you sing these songs during the day? And he just says, well, I feel vulnerable at night. And he plays his songs only then, because no one would listen during the day to his music and what he has going on internally. And she just goes, I'll listen. And at that moment, it's just, she is just the biggest cheerleader the entire time. And it's not forced. It doesn't feel forced. It's not like somebody here to prop him up. She's just there to help him along and realize what his potential is. And I think that's the purest form of support and love.
And that zoom in shot on Glenn Hansard singing, like that's the super effective thing that we always talk about on the show, which is show, don't tell. Like that zoom in tells us everything we need to know about this person, that this music is about him. It's personal to him. It's important to him. He's not doing it to make money and like become this big star. Like he performs because performance is in his blood.
Right. And then also on that scene, she doesn't even ask. And she knows that he's singing because of a loss of a lover. And then he responds, he says that he's over her. And she just says bullshit.
Yeah. Right.
I know.
Yeah, and then she says, you play that for her, you'll get her back. And so like, there's the start of her recognizing his passion for what he does and her respect for that, as well as some start of her just like, finding him interesting, and the love that she feels for him starts then.
And not just that, but you start to see the way that the two of them are going to push each other to be better, which is kind of the running thing throughout the entire movie. Like even at the beginning, she's like, you should go to her and sing this song. And it's already her pushing him and trying to drive him towards what she can tell he wants just through his singing.
Right. And he doesn't even know her. He's just like taken aback by this forceful, random Czech girl that's telling him to do things that he keeps thinking about in his head, but hasn't actually acted on. And he's like, what the fuck? Really? Like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, yeah, you can. Bullshit. Go do it. And he's thinking, oh, maybe I can do this.
And not to just keep going, I have goosebumps right now. The next shot is the song of him in his room singing a song, You Have Broken Me, all the way down. And in that montage, he tries to phone his girlfriend in London because of the seed that she planted, to no avail. And we still understand, at that point, we all knew, right? I mean, we all knew his heart was still broken, which I love how that transitions, that whole first section, like you, Emily, it brings you in.
Let's jump to probably the most engaging scene in this movie, and the one that is what it's known for, because it won the Oscar for Best Original Song for Falling Slowly. And that's the scene at the piano where she's playing and he's teaching her the chords and how to play this song, and then they duet together.
I have a question because, Garrett, you're a professional musician and whatnot.
Oh, well, you're too kind.
That's okay. I'm just the girl pushing you to be better, I guess.
Sure. No, fair enough.
She's got her for a piano.
Well, I can't really play piano anymore, but I can a little bit. I was going to ask, is it that easy to kind of pull a piece of music together to teach someone how to play something like that?
So there's a couple things at work here. He has sheet music and she knows how to read music. So if there's a player capable of reading sheet music, especially a pianist, it's very easy for them to subconsciously read it.
I was waiting for Wesley to match my eyes so we could chuckle at the word pianist.
Yeah, perfect. So she's a pianist, and she's the purest pianist, I think, in this movie.
Damn it, Emily.
Yeah, but the way I describe it to people, drumming became easy when I stopped thinking about it while I was playing. So when your subconscious and your muscle memory is trained and you don't think about what's next, that's when you can actually play it. So her being trained in the piano, she can look at the paper and B, her fingers just do what's on the pages,
Right.
and she can follow the lyrics. So
That is actually the exact scene where I texted Ben that this is the most Garrett ass movie that I've ever seen. And I was like,
wait, why? Why, Wesley?
Yeah, because I've been there with when Charlie and Garrett have been practicing, and I've kind of seen that process of them going back and forth with ideas in their own head about like, hey, we should add this or do this or extend this or whatever. And at that point, I was still trying to, and I still am now, but I was still trying to wrap my head around like, why is this movie good? And again, I don't think it's a bad movie, but for whatever reason, like everything up to that point was so much about what I know about Garrett and his passions, and knowing that Garrett loves this movie, I was like, this is just a musician's movie.
Yeah, and the lyrics of that song are so strong and tie so closely into the relationship that is developing between the two. And I love the way that it's shot, where it's like it's got one to the left side of the frame and the other one in the background, and he's looking at her, or they'll go flip the other way and she's looking at him. And you can see this rapport starting to develop and this caringness starting to show up between the two. It's just so powerful.
It's a profound respect that immediately, I felt that it was like a musician's respect right away, but also just feeling like you can create something like that. Like I've had those moments before as a musician where you feel this connectedness that you don't always get when just talking to someone.
I feel like, honestly, that this might be the most intimate scene in the entire movie. And I mean, what my notes is, it's the roots which might have been there are solidifying. I mean, it looks like medicine for his soul. There's no tension in his eyes. Like his eyes are open and they're relaxed. And he has his cowl as he sings, but when he's singing like that, you can see that he's riding on air is basically what's happening. And I'm going to tell you, there's times where I play shows and I don't remember what I played. Because like when you can release like that, that's nirvana. He has no care for anything other than singing and her at that moment. Like he's just there.
I think that all of us, we've all been musicians at some point or another, that we can definitely feel that emotion of either with a band or a choir or whatever. I think we've all kind of felt that moment where you have that relationship with the people you're performing with, and you do get that feeling.
I mean, it can also not even be a relationship to the performers you're with, but a relationship to the music. Like Garrett, you talking about that reminded me of the end scene in Whiplash, where he just kind of loses himself in the music and in himself, and it just this artistic explosion happens. And I think that's I think something that all musicians like hope to attain and be able to do consistently. But I think it's pretty rare. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree with you. It's, I don't know. It's something special that I wish everybody could feel, you know, whether it's music or art, I'm sure you can, but like that feeling of letting go.
Yeah. Being in the zone.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, I guess it's the same thing. It's a form of meditation, really, because when you meditate, you're letting go, and there's nothing better than letting go, other than probably sleeping 9 hours when you have 2 kids. The other note that I want to make is I love the different storylines that play out through the songs too, because I mean, much like all music, you can assign the song to whatever you're feeling, and you can relate to it. Well, like with Falling Slowly, of course, it's perfect because it feels like they're both falling slowly for each other. But then the chorus, he says, "Take the sinking boat and point it home." And in the end, home is in London with his girlfriend. So it's almost like it's foreshadowing the push that the relationship's going to take him, you know, back home to where he's comfortable with his lover.
I think it's very funny that you bring up those words, just because those were the words I had the hardest time memorizing. So here's an Emily story. Back when I was a senior in high school, 2011, I sang this song in our talent show for our a cappella choir talent show. And I sang it with my dear, wonderful friend, Rachel. And I still remember trying to memorize those fucking words was the hardest part because they're so complex and detailed and wonderful. And there isn't a lot of repetition in them, honestly. There it isn't a ton of that like easy repetition. And at that point, I had no idea that this had won Best Original Song. I had no idea it was that important. At that point, my friend Rachel and I were sitting backstage playing piano while we were dicking around before rehearsal for our last show for theater. And she started playing this song and I was like, oh my God, I know that song too. And so we started singing it together. And it was kind of one of those moments where we were like, shit, this piece brought us together and we decided to do something we had never thought about doing. And we performed in front of our school, which was kind of cool.
Is dicking around what pianists do?
Yes.
After the guy apologizes, the two hang out more and bond over music. She writes the lyrics to one of his songs, and the two decide the guy should record his songs professionally. The girl helps the guy secure a loan for a recording studio session and to recruit a backup band. And also, she's married?
Okay, so as you were reading these act breaks, the guy and the girl,
Yeah,
they don't get names.
correct.
And as you just said, they start, we've already kind of talked about it. They pick up a random other busking band to be the background. Their whole introduction between the guy and the girl is because she hears him play. So there's no reason that she's a musician other than maybe she's interested in him. So I think that has, as I've been listening to all of you talk through Act One, I think that's probably my biggest issue with this story is how quickly things evolve and how much we have to assume and just let go that they move into these more emotional and deeper relationships that aren't shown on screen. And again, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I think that is kind of what I didn't like about it was that you have to let go of kind of how their relationships evolve.
I can understand that, but I think musicians draw other musicians together. And I think that is a piece that I can definitely trust in, where when I'm listening to a piece of music with someone, or I even see someone on the street performing, I am drawn to that because I was a musician for so long and because music is so important to me. And so it's not surprising to me that she ends up being an amazing pianist. You know, I think it actually is quite logical in my brain as a musician, where I'm like, duh, of course a musician would notice this guy on the street pouring his heart and soul into his music and want to compliment him and go out of her way to say something.
Well, and like I've had firsthand experiences that were very similar, where going to school for audio engineering, having a band in, really enjoying what they're doing musically, and then going to hang out with them all night, playing music together, getting drinks, having dinner, all just based on the precipice that we enjoy music, and that we enjoy what each other are doing. I mean, I've sang acoustic songs in a Walmart parking lot with a guy who was recording, and we were doing Say Anything songs, and we sang the whole album together, and we just met that day. So, I mean, I could see how it looks unbelievable and rushed, but it's not out of the question. Just like Emily was saying, it really, you do make that connection fast when it's just based on music.
Right. And I think going back to what I said earlier about how she is that push, she's that spark that gets him to actually do something instead of him being stuck in his brain. I think that needed to be shown right away, that this isn't just a long process. There needed to be an action right away of him making changes in his life. I didn't think that it needed to prolong and stew and sit for a while. I think it needed to happen right away so that we could see the effect that she has on him and also the effect that he has on her. They're pushing each other to be those incredible musicians.
And to support your point, Wesley, I could totally, it's the music is one thing, bring them together, but it is two souls who need each other, who are going through semi-similar situations. I mean, that part I can see, but I think the music is the glue that keeps that semi-realistic. Like if it was something else and they met each other and it's, hey, this person has a girlfriend who left him and cheated on him. And then this person has a husband where things aren't really working out very well. And like it's cloudy and then they can lean on each other. You're like, oh, that's like too perfect. But then like if you add in the music thing where it completely is possible for two people to be intimate musically with each other quickly, I think that kind of helps tie it together.
Yeah. And by no means am I, of course, advocating for a longer movie. I thought it was a great, short and sweet, got to the point. I liked it. It wasn't something that I wanted more of. I just think that that's why it made me feel the way I did. So I think maybe I'm less musically inclined. And I think that maybe I didn't ingest the intention of the lyrics of the songs as much as hear them as music instead of understanding that as the plot that I'm kind of hearing from you.
But I also think that fast friendship or fast relationship can happen within any creative process. Like I think of us and the Cinephiles. Like we've only really hung out 3 times, but like I generally have a love for those 4 people, even though we have a limited amount of time with them. Like it's that idea of a shared interest and common goals and this idea that like we are drawn together because of that.
Yeah.
Aw, we love that.
No, that's totally true.
So true.
Because I still remember the first time I listened to an episode of theirs, and I was like, this just sounds like what we would do if we were other people.
Right.
Guys, I think we're having a digital Kodak moment right now.
We are. So Wesley, one thing you brought up earlier was the idea of this music video style filmmaking. And I got that sense a lot in the second act specifically. With the song that she's singing as she's walking down the street with that extended dolly shot.
Oh, I loved that.
That felt like a music video. And then the other one is when he's singing the song Lies, and it's the video footage of his old girlfriend.
Yep.
Those both felt very music video. And those are actually probably 2 of my least favorite scenes in the movie because it doesn't feel cohesive to the rest of the story.
I agree.
It feels like 2 music videos plugged in to this movie.
I can understand that. I think I just really liked being able to see the city at night and seeing the perspective from the girl, what she was kind of going through. Because it always seemed like the girl was with the guy all the time, or we just saw the guy. But I felt like it was just this quiet, intimate moment of the girl on her own. And I did really like that feeling because there are very few times that me as a woman, I feel safe at night. But there are times when you are walking at night and it just feels great and you feel safe and you feel in this world of wonder. And I think music is a huge part of that. And I don't know, I loved that scene, and it might just be because she had the fucking coolest slippers. But that might be just my opinion.
Yeah. The one point where I kind of get removed from this movie is right when she walks out, from buying batteries and putting them in. Because this movie was shot on such a low budget, they didn't pull any permits. So this is all done like legit out in the open with long lenses, and the people around don't know they're in a movie. And you can see that from the people outside of the convenience store. And all I can think about is Jim Carrey going, big gulps, huh? Well, see you later. Because those guys didn't know they were in a movie either.
Yeah.
That was all ad-lib too. I will say that the Lies, Lies, Lies song is like my second favorite part of this entire movie. And this is coming up later, I know, but this is the moment that I cry almost every time, just because of how raw and how like the song is just, it is a guy who is getting pulled from 2 different directions with the love that he has for her. And like the great times, and the chorus comes and it's all lies, and you can feel it just, it's Ralphie noticing the moment when Ralphie's heart breaks on The Simpsons, where you could pause it right on the scene. And he's going at that moment, you can see the amount of loss that he's going through. The whole time we know he's had this loss, but at that moment you can feel like what it feels like to be him, because he still loves her, but he doesn't know if he can trust her. But with the montage of her and him, you can see how good it can be with the dichotomy of him screaming it was all lies, but they don't look like lies in the montage. It looks genuine and real. I love that part. I think it's a pivotal moment for him in the movie where he is questioning himself whether or not he can trust her anymore. I think it's just a really beautiful part of the movie. And I think it's just a really beautiful song because right after that, where he's contemplating all this with the relationship, he goes and tells her that he is going to London.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that scene I struggle with so much is because by that point in the movie, I'm so invested in the two main characters getting together because of this romantic tension that's been existing throughout them. Like, I want them to get together so that by this time this Lies song comes out and you can see he still has feelings for her. It's like, dude, why are you being so fucking stupid? Like, go after this girl who's right in front of you that you clearly have like this amazing connection with.
I don't know. I think for me, it was just embedded in reality. I think the fact that there are moments in people's lives where they're reflecting back on past relationships, possible new relationships, and you kind of have this weird decision making that you have to decide what you're going to do next. And I think the girl, not the girlfriend, the girl pushed him to make a decision. And I think that, in all honesty, he's also thinking about his music. London is probably his best chance for that. You know, that was something kind of they talked about. And I think that having the reality piece of real conflicting emotions and conflicting ideas in someone's head is really important in this movie. I think being able to see that reality is so incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, the really cool thing is when he goes and tells the girl that he's going to London and he wants to record and he's leaving Monday, we're legitimately at the halfway point. And then we're kind of transforming onto this next thing, this next act. And I don't know. I thought it was a really good way to make the movie and edit the movie.
At that point, though, I was still confused about what the guy really wanted because he asks her to come with him to London. It felt like he wanted this romantic relationship with her still because he said, "Come to London with me." And she said, "What? I'm supposed to bring my daughter, and can my mom come?"
That's way later.
That's when they're at the piano inside the recording studio. But okay. I think it's not out of the norm because I think it all boils down to that he's in love with the girl, but the girl wants him to go to London and find his ex because it's better for him musically, and she doesn't believe that she can give him what he needs because she has her kid and her mom and something she needs to take care of here. Her love for him is stronger than her desire for him. And sometimes letting somebody go or forcing him to go is what you can do to show that you love for them.
As soon as they arrive to record, the recording guy isn't into them, but they win him over and have a grand old time. The guy leaves for London to get back together with his girlfriend and to pursue his dream of becoming a famous musician, but not before buying a piano for the girl as a thank you.
Oh, that recording session was so damn cute. They were all just hanging out together. Oh, it was so cute.
I feel like we just skipped across one of the greatest scenes in the entire movie.
What's that?
The moped ride and the subsequent learning about that she has a husband. And when he asks, "Do you love him?" and she responds in Czech and she doesn't tell him what she said.
So the reason I didn't bring that up is because the anyone cry in this movie, like that's one part where I almost started crying. And it's not that necessarily that scene, but after watching the movie, I went on IMDb, and it turns out what she said in Czech in response to that is, "No, I love you."
Yes,
and
it is.
That made me tear up because that hurt me deeply.
100%. And I like, that's my negative one favorite moment of this entire movie. It's before the
Your
number
negative one favorite?
It's before. I said number one earlier, and I can't just re-rank everything, so I have to go 2 steps above it.
Yeah.
That part kills me every time. It kills me. I'm emotional drunk Gary right now, and it's like I'm having a hard time processing through it.
Well, since we're talking about crying now, were there any other parts in this end where you cried?
Yeah, I teared up a little bit. There's the moment that after the girl sings The Hill, which is her piece that she sings alone, and they're in the recording studio, and the guy comes in and they just sit there. And after the song is over, I didn't cry during the song or when she breaks down, but when they just kind of hold each other close, that moment, I felt just this incredible tightness in my chest. Probably should get it looked at. And I squeezed out a little bit of a tear. I think I remember the first time I watched this, I bawled during that point because it felt so emotionally raw. And I knew that they probably couldn't get together at some point. And at that point, it was like my own heart breaking that, well, I'm not going to have a happy ending. Fuck this movie.
Yeah. Garrett, which part for you?
I've literally teared up at the opening scene before.
Wait, during the thief chase?
Right before the thief chase.
Okay.
Because I know what I'm getting into at that point. But I think the parts that hit me the most emotionally are the lies montage. And then since I know what she says in Czech, that part hits me. The ending of the movie, I actually cried out the first time I watched it, which was pretty great.
Is that when the piano arrives? Because that's when I actually cry every time. When the piano arrives, it is such a good cry, though. It's a good feeling of they respect and love one another, even if they can't be together romantically. It's still a high love and respect.
Yeah, and it's weird how it plays off their real life, too. They have a forbidden love for each other. I mean, they dated after the movie. They love each other on that same level in real life. So how much more of a raw, intimate performance can you get?
Yeah, this may speak more to my own personal issues, but the part that makes me cry in this movie is where he's talking to his dad, and his dad is super supportive of him going to London. Like, that's the part where I cry every single time.
I love that part. And he's and they talk, and he's just super supportive. And he goes at the end, he just says, "Play it again," as he takes another drag from his cigarette.
So
you know,
cute.
and he's like, because when you meet him, he looks like the grumpy Hoover guy. He's like, "What do you want to have for dinner, Dad?" And he's like, "Fish." And he's just like, "Please," you know, like, so like you're like, oh, they just get along, and he hates that his son still lives with him. But no, it's more deep love that they have for each other too.
And you get a taste of it in the second act when he comes and he brings tea in while all 5 of the bandmates are crammed into this tiny bedroom of the guys. And he like hobbles in and they're just like, "Oh, thanks, Dad." Oh, it's so heartwarming.
The other part that I really love about this movie, and again, Garrett, this is because of a personal thing between you and I, is that recording session where they do the montage of them all hanging out after they've rented this recording studio, because it reminds me of when we did that same thing. And we rented that recording studio for the weekend, and we hung out, we played NBA Jam, and we ate takeout for an entire weekend and just sat and made music. And it was just so cool. And it reminded me so much of that. And I miss that.
Well, you know what? We need to have a reunion, A, and B, the only reason why I play music is for those moments of NBA Jam and takeout all weekend.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I think we need to start a band. Wesley, do you still have a trombone?
Not with me. But my parents still own 2 of them.
I have one in my apartment. It's my sister's. You can use it.
Every band I've ever been in, though, we've had an initiation questionnaire. Wesley, do you like the movie Once?
Oh, shit. He can't be in the band.
Oh, no.
No.
All right. Ben, Emily, let's figure out what kind of genre we want to do. Let's do ska, and we'll try to find a trombone player somewhere.
Oh, no.
Yes. My sister plays trombone. We're good.
Perfect. We're good.
There we go. Nailed it.
So just hearing you guys all talk about the parts of this movie that made you emotional, is really making me question myself and whether.
No, Wesley, you're perfect.
Well, that's not true. But I don't, and this isn't necessarily negative at myself either, but does it mean that I am a broken robot who doesn't feel things, or that I've had a stable enough life where these things don't relate to me and I don't feel that emotion that they're trying to come across in the movie?
It can be both.
Okay, yeah.
I think you in some way didn't give it a fair shot.
Oh, that's totally fair. I plan on watching it
You've
again.
only seen it once.
Mhm.
You've seen it once, and you said you were kind of removed from the situation, thinking, "Oh, this is a Garrett movie," and you weren't. You were just hearing music. You weren't listening to it. You were hearing it, and I think that's pivotal to pay attention to.
Yeah, I think this is just an example of how subjective movies are, where each person takes their own personal baggage into what they're seeing and will have a different reaction to the same piece of entertainment that's in front of you. Like, we all watch a movie and we all feel certain things in certain ways, and it's because of what we bring into the movie. That
is a super, super interesting point, because so many movies that we've talked about in 2007, and I don't know if we're getting down out of some of the big blockbusters and comedy films, but this is such a unique film where a lot of the other ones in this year, and I think just in general, aren't subjective movies. Like they're kind of, fire across the board for everybody the same way.
Pandering in a way.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Pander to a certain audience.
There's nothing that you can insert yourself in a lot of these big Hollywood movies, and I think that this movie was very much for an individual viewer and not an entire audience.
I understand that.
This is not a mainstream movie. This is something that's personal, and it's like anytime you see these movies that are so cheaply made, and you can just tell the amount of heart that's put into them, and you lose that heart when you have $300 million to make a Pirates movie.
Right.
Wesley, do you have any other observations?
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
I had very few. I actually only wrote down 3 notes for this entire movie, and those are going to be my observations. So first of all, the one thing I really took away from this movie, I want to wear a pea coat and fingerless gloves and play Frisbee on a beach.
We can make that happen.
That was such a weird combination of things that they were just having the best day of.
Wesley, that is definitely a life goal that's within reach. That is not tough to make happen.
Yeah, in the land of 10,000 lakes, I think we can find a beach somewhere and wear some warm clothes. From the very beginning, as soon as I saw this lead actor, all I could think of was that he's a combination of Thomas Middleditch and John Daly, the comedian, not the golfer.
I was going to say, that doesn't make sense. He's not wearing Zubas.
and then as the film went on, with maybe just a touch of Paul Giamatti.
Is it because of his eyeballs?
It's mostly the eyeballs.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wesley, would you have liked this movie more if Cillian Murphy had been the main guy? Because that was the original plan.
Really? I don't think so. I didn't dislike this movie, and I don't think the acting was not a problem at all. I loved it. I didn't think it needed anything more, but I also love Cillian Murphy. So I don't know, maybe. My final one, and I hope this maybe blows your minds as much as it did when I had this thought. Towards the end of the movie, looking at all the shaky cam footage and filming, all I could think about at the end of this movie was, what if it was entirely filmed by his cheating ex-girlfriend and she was stalking him?
Oh my.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. Let that sink in.
Wait, the guy's cheating girlfriend?
Is the one that's filming the entire movie from afar.
I could see that happening because there's a moment when the drummer, Timmy, makes eye contact with the
oh my god, I forgot about that.
Camera.
And he has such a side eye of
Yes.
Okay, game on! Game on! Game on!
Ben, who's playing your game?
Yeah, Wesley's going to play my game this week. Wesley, are you ready?
I guess so.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a movie, and you need to tell me whether it's a movie I've seen once, more than once, or never.
Shit, okay.
So 60 seconds on the clock, and away we go. Braveheart,
Once.
Incorrect. Cats.
Never.
Incorrect. The Fifth Element.
More than once.
Incorrect. Fight Club.
Once.
Correct. Gladiator.
More than once.
Incorrect. The Godfather.
Never.
Incorrect. Goodfellas.
Never.
Incorrect.
This game's hard.
Grown Ups 2.
Oh, God, I hope it's more than once.
It is more than once. The Karate Kid.
Never.
Correct. Memento.
More than once. No.
Incorrect.
Oh, damn it.
Room.
Once.
Correct. The Room.
More than once.
Correct. How many did you get?
Just 4.
That game was hard. I feel like
It was a tough one.
Which was the one that surprised you?
I should have known Memento because I don't. Have you never seen it, or you've only seen it once?
I have never seen Memento.
As soon as I said it, I was like, I know better than that.
God.
I've never seen Gladiator. I've never seen Braveheart. I've seen Cats more than once. Emily, what did you learn from this movie?
I'm learning.
You know what I learned from this movie? If you string a guy along long enough, he'll give you a free piano. So
That's
then
true.
you can keep playing piano lessons or keep taking piano lessons and not get killed by your piano teacher from I Know Who Killed Me.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Everything Emily learns is about pianos.
And pianists.
Yeah, she's just
And
dicking around.
penis is...
Garrett, do you have a review for us?
If there's any movie that is shot on like $175,000 budget or $150,000, and Steven Spielberg says there's a little movie called Once that gave me enough inspiration to last the rest of the year, you should probably check it out. I mean, as far as like, I think we went over the whole synopsis of the movie. I couldn't be more in love with the movie, and it's definitely in my top 10, if not top 5 movies of all time. It's one movie that speaks to me on so many different levels, and that even talking about it now gives me goosebumps. And I think that's when you know that you have something that really is a part of you that you're able to access, which I think is pretty special. It's something that everybody had their heart and soul in, and they weren't doing it for a profit. They were doing it to tell the story. And anytime you have a piece of art where it's not in it necessarily for the money, it's in it to tell the story, sometimes it's lightning in a bottle, and it speaks to the people who are involved in it on many different levels. I think it's much like the movie. It's a bunch of people coming together with the right background and the right life experiences that are happening to make something that's beautiful. And I think the two leads having the same type of interaction in the movie as they do in real life, and the same feelings, allowed two non-actors to completely sell their relationship because it was legitimately happening at the same time.
Fuck, Garrett. This may be the whiskey talking, but I want to open mouth kiss you.
I was wondering what Ben's reaction was the entire time Garrett was talking. Ben kept like Myron. He kept Myron Garrett.
Yeah. Do you have a rating for it?
I mean, let's just say it's 6 leprechauns out of 6. I don't know.
6 leprechauns out of 6.
I mean, it's the perfect score.
All right, so like this movie, I'm going to keep it simple this week and go back to the once time that I used this generic intro. So, and now it's time to play Battle of the Twits. I will pose 3 rounds of questions to our less than experts, let them try to convince me who's the smartest this week, and after I will rain my judgment. The winner of each round will get 1 point, second place gets 0, and I will be more easily persuaded by the more creative and entertaining answers. So, Twits, are you ready?
So ready.
Yes.
Probably the most actually instructive intro to Twits that has happened in
People
the past
that have listened to
50
the episodes before, they're like, what the fuck does this even mean?
Yeah. So for all of our longtime fans, that's what all of the bullshit that I normally say is stemming from. So question 1. I don't think this movie was super entertaining. I still liked it, but it wasn't very entertaining. So your opponent is going to give you a twist, and please explain the changes that you would make to this story to get it to fit in with the genre given to you by your opponent. And we are going to start with Ben. So Emily, what are you giving to Ben?
Ben, I want you to change once into a melodramatic ghost story.
So Garrett, while Ben thinks about this, can you tell us anything that you've been watching, consuming, listening to, anything you want to talk about for a minute?
Well, I'll walk you through my drive over today. I went with the listen to music. I've listened to the Swell season so much that I decided to listen to.
I thought you were going to give us directions of how you got over to where you are.
Oh no, I took Marystown Road. But I went to Mumford & Sons and I listened to a few of those and I sang 27% of the words correctly. The other ones I phonetically hit. So when they said O's, I said O's, Oz, I got those in.
Nice.
And then I put it on shuffle and The White Stripes Fell in Love with the Girl came on, which was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then Hometown by French 79 is a really good electronic one. So I was doing some Jersey fist bumping and I was like, this isn't working for me. So then I did Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
Ooh, Simon Garfunkel.
Yeah. And then Mad World. And then I started getting depressed. And then I went back to French 79, did some more fist bumping. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of my morning.
Yeah, you always know when Mad World comes up that you need to reflect on some things.
Like, pump the brakes, Gary. Like, let's listen to something uplifting. And then she said that I couldn't pay for the crabs. I had to eat them.
I only came in on that last bit. I have no idea what the story was behind that punchline.
You are going to enjoy it so much more as you edit this. All right. So, Ben, you have to turn once into a melodramatic ghost story.
So actually, Emily, you kind of gave me a gift here because I don't have to change much about the story to turn it into a melodramatic ghost story.
Oh.
So the guy isn't alive. The guy's dead. He's just a dead ghost performing on a street side in Ireland who the girl happens to stumble upon and see. And he is a ghost then who inspires her to get back with her husband. Throughout their relationship, nothing about the guy is really happening. It's all just him being a ghost and her projecting her issues onto him. But then the question becomes, who gives her the piano at the end?
She buys it herself. Sorry.
No. She can't afford it. She says that in the movie multiple times. The piano store owner gives it to her because he's so sick of her coming into the fucking store every day to play for an hour. He's just like, take this piano. I'm done with you. It's not even part of my bottom line. I don't care. Take the piano. So I have to change very little about this story to turn it into this ghost story. And it doesn't really change anything about the movie because in the end, they meet and then they come apart. And that still happens if he's a ghost or not.
Okay. How did he die? And why is he haunting the streets of Ireland?
So actually, so that's a good question, Wesley. So the beginning of this movie, he is alive. And then he chases down that guy who robs him, and the guy stabs him, and he dies.
Is that where the melodrama comes from?
And that's where the melodrama comes from. Yeah, it's also the melodrama of like she's falling in love with this ghost, like she's developing these feelings for him. So there's melodrama there as well.
Does Macaulay Culkin come in and say he sees dead people?
Why?
I mean, why not?
Oh God, Garrett. We will move on to Emily. So Ben, what are you giving Emily?
Emily, you need to turn once into a talking baby comedy.
What does that mean?
It needs to be about talking babies.
Like a Look Who's Talking?
Got it.
All right. Well, I kind of want to throw it back to Garrett because of how
You don't want to throw it to me.
What do you want to know? I mean, I'm a semi-open book.
I mean, we already heard about what your soundtrack was of the morning. Gosh, I really don't know what to do here. Have neither of you really been watching anything?
So man, that's a great question, Wesley. I'm so glad you asked that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I watched Russian Doll again.
Oh, nice. I'm very excited. Season 2 is coming out soon.
I did not know that. My mind is officially blown. Thank you.
I don't know for sure either. I should probably look that up. But yeah, Natasha Lyonne in Russian Doll is absolutely incredible. What did you think about it on your second watch?
I still loved it. And I still was kind of along for the ride because I let it breathe a little bit. I mean, I let it breathe a lot of it. So I kind of understood what was happening, but I still had fun with it. And then honestly, man, just a lot of sports. Just a lot of sports.
I watched A Bad Trip last night on Netflix.
Oh, is that the Eric Andre?
The Eric Andre prank movie.
How was that?
It was, I mean, it's a prank movie, so there was no real narrative through line, but
sure.
It was fun. It was nice. Like I like those Jackass movies, and especially when they do the stunts where you see people reacting, and this is all about people reacting to pranks. It's very little of the just the stunt work stuff. It's all, real people reacting. Really,
maybe I'll have to check it out. And I just did a quick Google, and it sounds like Russian Doll season 2 will start filming in March of this year.
Oh, it's such a good show.
Is Macaulay Culkin in it?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, Emily. So tell us how you would change Once into a talking baby comedy, that thing that everybody knows exactly what it is.
Yeah. I'm sure Ben knows a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I really lucked out too, because I didn't have to change a lot of the plot in this movie either. Because this is just changing the perspective of who the story is going to be about. And essentially, this is now the perspective of the daughter, the girl's daughter. And the girl's daughter is essentially going to have a voiceover narration with an older female voice. I'm like picturing like old lady kind of voice, maybe British or Irish. I can't do an Irish accent, so it'd be like,
Maggie
talking about
Smith.
her.
Celine Dion.
No, definitely Maggie Smith.
Macaulay
That's what I'm
Culkin.
picturing.
Yeah.
Of these daily adventures of her going outside and like waving to her fans and, talking about how all these different cool things, like she goes to sleep and suddenly is somewhere else and she's like really fancy and all that. And, everyone dresses her. She's so good at being doted upon. When they go to the recording studio, she'll just bask in the glory of her subjects and the glory of her worshipers. And those are the band members that are all just like playing with her and whatnot. And because it's a comedy, it has to have some sort of hijinks. And so really it's the baby that gets her dad to come back. That's the whole thing. And so she plans this elaborate scheme to get her dad to come back as a funny joke.
The classic prank.
Is it going to be Russian with English subtitles?
Check with English subtitles.
Yeah, check with the English subtitles.
No, see, this baby, it's definitely not, because this baby grew up in Ireland, and so she has already spent more time around English speakers than Czech speakers, even though like the surrounding neighborhood are all Czech people.
Can you tell me one classic baby comedy hijinks that this baby gets into?
Absolutely. So this baby is going to have a lollipop, and she's going to be riding on a rocking horse, and she has this lollipop, and she's talking about how she is just having the best time, but she really wants to mess with her servant lady, who is her grandmother. And so she'll stick the lollipop on her grandmother's bottom and just point and laugh at it for the whole day as she's just riding on her rocking horse and waving to her fans, which are her dolls.
Classic United Kingdom comedy right there.
On to question 2.
The fuck is a talking baby comedy?
I mean, it's
Baby's,
literally
Baby's Day Out.
Yeah, Baby's Day Out. Look who's talking.
Baby Geniuses.
Boss Baby.
I've never, ever seen a talking baby comedy.
Baby as seen in the movie
Really? You
Driver.
haven't seen any of those?
The only talking baby I've seen are like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's the only talking baby I've seen.
Well, then you know.
Okay, question 2. Moving along. Since this movie decided to improvise broken-hearted Hoover fixer sucker guy during filming, I'm going to give you an occupation, and I want you to improv the lyrics to a song about that occupation, and please try your best to rhyme. And I see the terror in Ben's face right now.
I have some terror, too.
Well, he's great at scissor kicks, so maybe if he just scissor kicks on the camera.
That'll help.
That's not going to happen.
Okay, so for question 2, we're going to start with Emily. And for the listening audience, these are both jobs that I myself, Wesley, have held in my life. And I've held some weird jobs. So, Emily, your job is person who sits in a warming house at a city-funded ice rink in the winter to count popularity of that ice rink.
God, if you're going to give her like the entire answer, my job description better be 20 words also.
It is. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
Yes, they are very comparable.
So, I'm just a guy sitting in a warming house. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I'm just a guy counting all the people. Wait, that's a mouse. Do-do-do-do-do. This ice rink is so freaking popular. I don't know what rhymes with popular, but here I am just sitting in this warming house, counting the people. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel so much better about how I'm going to do now.
Are you serious? I did great.
Honestly, it reminded me of Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy.
You're not wrong.
That's a good thing.
That's
a good thing.
That's a thing.
Oh my God, that was fantastic. So Ben, your career or job, hopefully this isn't your entire career, is person who loads stacks of cardboard into a machine that punches out the fake coins printed on that cardboard.
How can I be bored working with this cardboard? I can't. I'm too happy to be working and employed. What else would I do with my life than this? Money, 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 whether it's fake or not. I'm happy to be working with it and printing it for children. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I feel if we took that and started it at the same time as The Wizard of Oz, some crazy stuff would happen.
Well, Garrett, are you sure you want us in your band?
I mean, I'm blown away at the creativity right now.
I like how we both got our rhymes out of the way right away.
Yes.
The melodic nature of Ben's song lasted about three words. And then it was just him just monotone, not even like regular talking, just monotone and I'm feeling really good about this cardboard. It was lovely. It was a song made for a drum.
A song made for a drum. Oh my God.
Hey, it was just lyrics, man. It was just the lyrics. So hopefully you remember them.
How could you not? They're iconic.
Yeah, they really just like laid out the story. If you listen to the lyrics,
yeah,
it set you
just
up for the
like
rest of the
once.
Yes.
I'm still trying to get over how deep of a burn a song made for a drum is. Hey, you know those lyrics you just wrote? They'd be better on a drum. Oh, God. Okay. Moving on to question 3. Obviously, I was not the biggest fan of this movie, and that happened a lot in 2007, which we are slowly realizing. So let's pile on to that, and I want you both to pitch me a movie that I, Wesley, will hate. So we are going to start with Ben, who knows a lot of things that I hate.
Yeah, I do. So let's get it out of the way right now. Nickelback is going to be involved.
Yep. Knew that
so
one.
So what if Nickelback wrote a Les Mis style musical where the characters sing Speak Everything? What if that musical was 3.5 hours long, filmed only in sepia tones, and exclusively used extreme close-ups on people's faces for its entirety? What if that musical starred Kirk Cameron and was about one man's pursuit of evangelizing an entire town in South Texas? What if everyone who lived in that South Texas town spoke in super thick and difficult to hear New England accents? What if they put up subtitles on the screen, but only for Kirk Cameron's character, who's the only character whose dialogue is easy to decipher? What if the movie is kind of like Pleasantville, but the townspeople only get their color once they've accepted Jesus? Except you can't tell what color anyone is because of the sepia tones. What if the entire conflict of the movie stemmed from Kirk Cameron's unwillingness to tell his wife about his evangelical pursuit? What if his wife was played by Paris Hilton in blackface?
Whoa.
Okay.
That was a line. All right.
What if the movie ended abruptly in a freeze frame and with no resolution to any of the story threads? What if the movie was called Wesley, with the word Wesley sandwiched between an upside down exclamation point and a regular exclamation point? And that Wesley is both the name of the town and Kirk Cameron's character.
This is hurting my head.
Sounds great.
I mean, you definitely got a few points in there that I don't know why you think I hate them. Like, I don't know if I've ever been on record as saying I don't like Kirk Cameron movies.
No, he's just not a good actor.
Okay, fair. Okay, that makes sense. That was very painful, and I don't like this question. So, Emily, so let's see how you can stack up to my almost 20-year relationship with Ben knowing things that I dislike.
Ben definitely has an advantage here, seeing that he's known Wesley for, over 15 years, and I've known him for 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I focused on Wesley's biggest weaknesses. And so I just want to preface this, that we know Wesley hates long movies, but what he really hates are the promise of a short movie that feels like it takes 5 hours. They are full of false promises. You're just like, yes, 85-minute movie. And then it just drags on and on and on. And a side note, for those of our audience that don't know, Wesley went to school for art and is an amazing photographer too. So in my movie, the main character is a lonely 40-something-year-old in a dead-end job looking for fulfillment in his life. His friends push him to enter his work's photography contest. And he starts using his iPhone, because he's poor, to take stunning photos of the world from his eyes, a lowly office employee. So he starts his own Instagram account. Each awkwardly angled photo will have a little story to tell. So it will be like a little flashback, an acquaintance that has cancer, and it's all super sappy and disgusting with, you're like, oh, I guess they got better. Moving on to the next one. A friend's weird-looking dog that almost gets hit by a car. Oh, he almost got hit by a car, but he didn't. A new employee that decides to quit for no special reason, but, oh, just kidding, he didn't. And it just never seems to end with all of these stories. And everyone is loving his Instagram account. He has followers, and they're like, wow, you're such a good photographer. What camera do you use? And he's like, oh, I just use my iPhone. The first photo he takes, though, the scene is going to slow down, and just this big realization, this big emotional piece for him. And it's going to slow down and zoom into his phone with a sudden swell of music. And obviously, Nickelback's Photograph is going to be playing in this emotionally charged scene. No subtleties, whatever, for this movie. And oh, let's just say this film is in black and white, but the photographs are not. So no fun colors, because let's be honest, this guy doesn't know shit about how to make things look nice. They just use Instagram filters.
I am internally very tickled by this question, so I'm not sure how entertaining.
You didn't like it when Ben did it.
All right, so Again, an extremely close one this week. Had definitely some toss-ups and some good discussions, so thank you, Garrett. But we will go through this question by question. So question 1 was the opponent's choice, where you were given a twist to make the story once into a melodramatic ghost story or a talking baby comedy. I think that Ben really was given a softball and didn't have to change much in the movie. I think it kind of lent itself to that, where you could almost interpret that from an outside perspective without changing the movie at all. I really liked the way that you did implement the beginning of the ghost story being that he did die from that robber in the beginning, which I thought was a really good way to incorporate the real movie. Emily, you definitely changed the movie a lot, where it's extremely focused on the daughter of the girl. The voiceover with an older voice I thought was very good. And her perception of being doted upon by all of these random people, and kind of her titling them as like, oh, my servants and helpers and all that kind of stuff. And then the twist of the follow-up question being that her gag is that she sticks her lollipop to her grandma's bottom was it's just funny. So question 1's going to Emily. Question 2, I gave you one of my actual previous jobs, and you had to, on the spot, improv a quick song about that job. And this one was tough and very hilarious from both of you. So, Emily, you got, when I worked at a warming house for an ice rink, for a city-funded ice rink, and basically just had to count people. Loved the rhyme, which both of you, again, hit right away. And then just admitting in the moment that I don't know what rhymes with popular, I thought was very good. Ben hit the rhyme right away with "How can I be bored with working with the cardboard?" Money, whether it's fake or not. But then you basically stopped singing after 3 lines.
It was about the lyrics, man.
Yeah. Garrett, I can't get over how funny this line is. So I just want to add it into this episode as many times as possible. That was a song made for a drum, which I think is just the most eloquent musical burn ever. But I think that Emily had a more musical element to it, where even when she wasn't necessarily saying things, was more sing-songy with her words. And I'm going to give that one to Emily. So question 3 was a very personally humbling and introspective answer from both of you, who are 2 of my very good friends, making a movie that I will hate. So I kind of had to strike out some of the commonalities. Nickelback, obviously, and also the color of the movies, which we all know that I like very much. I did enjoy how you both use them, but I think it's kind of fair ground to knock those out. Ben, I love that the hard accents, and then Kirk Cameron being the only one who's actually audible is the only one who's subtitled, was just, ooh, that's a sweet cherry on top. The Paris Hilton thing, I still don't know how to feel about, but
Are you saying you support blackface?
no.
Well, then pick mine. Otherwise, you do. That's why I put it in there. It's an automatic trump card. I win.
Box.
You've been boxed.
Ending in a freeze frame was very good, and the fact that you named the movie Wesley and the character's name was Wesley, it just, I mean, you benefited from knowing me for a very long time. Emily, you really hit close to home with some stuff that I don't know that you really know about me. So I don't know how much of this you guessed.
I just assumed that you as a photographer hate all of the Instagram shit that's out there.
Yeah, nailed it. Like, just fucking nailed it. I thought that was brilliant. And the fact that I don't think that has ever come up in conversations
I don't think
with
we
us,
have.
Yeah, was awesome. But I think that Ben, whether it's unfair or not, benefited from years of knowing me and just kind of kept hitting again and again and again and again. Where Emily, you might have a little bit of a better story, but Ben, like, that movie just sounds like my absolute nightmare.
And I put your ass in a box.
Yeah, and you put my ass in a box. So question 3 is going to Ben because I don't support blackface.
You're damn right.
Great job, Ben.
Yeah,
Thanks. You as well.
That was a fun one. So anyway, Emily wins this week with a 2-1.
Thank you, Garrett, for joining us today. We love what you were able to bring to the episode. Do you have anything you want to plug before you go?
Do you do virtual shows right now?
No, we don't. I actually hadn't touched a drum set for over a year. But if you'd like to check out what I do, just search Crash Cuddle in your favorite search bar. My personal is Ask Jeeves. And
that literally came up last episode.
Oh yeah, no, it's perfect. And you can check it out. Other than that, I just want everybody to be good humans to each other and thug his life.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you have not done so before, please subscribe, rate us, share us with a friend or two. Thank you for continuing to support us. We are coming up on a year now of doing this podcast, so thank you for your continued support. And you can follow us on social media at IDYP_podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com. And next week will be our second Battle of Twits greatest hits compilation. So all of our favorite Battle of Twits answers from the last 25-ish episodes
Top
will
20.
be on there. That'll be hosted by Emily. And then our next original episode will actually be our 1-year anniversary episode, where it'll be just the core 4 of us, myself, Wesley, Emily, and Matt, and we'll be talking about Epic Movie.
It's gonna be epic.
It's gonna be. Have you seen it, Emily?
No.
Oh my god.
It's one of those.
It's one of those Friedberg and Seltzer parody movies, like a date movie.
Oh, so should I have just pitched this to Wesley instead of my movie?
You might have won.
Parody movies might have won. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, thank you for listening. And again, Garrett, thank you for joining us. And
it was absolutely my pleasure.
Garrett.
It was a blast.
And we'll see you all again next week. Have a good one.
Goodbye, everybody.